And we're going to talk about the things to know about your resume as well as your statement of purpose. And I'm going to leave it to Mrs. Harwood.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for that. So like Vanessa said, I'll be talking about things to know for your resume and for your statement of purpose. Oops, I think I got cut off there. I'm so sorry about that. So the first thing to note for your resume is that your resume is essentially a marketing statement. And so when you're thinking about applying for grad school, you'll think of different things that you can use for this marketing document. So things about teaching. So if you've had any teaching experiences, research is really important when you're thinking about what to use for your resume in this sort of grad school type of document. Assistantships too, educational or leadership training that you might have had within any field or in your undergrad experience. So your resume also is a reflection of your story. So it reflects who you are, what you've done, and also where you'd like to go. And so when you're writing your resume and putting it together, make sure you consider having a profile section. And so in your profile section, you can include, a little bit more about you, things that you bring to the table, your skills, your qualifications, and things that will make you stand out compared to other candidates for the grad school type of position. Also be sure to detail your education, so your undergrad experience and exactly what you had within those experiences. So when we think about our skills section, this is going to be really important, especially for grad school resume applications, because they want to see what types of skills that you bring to the program. And so when we think about skills, we can think about transferable skills. So our soft, hard, technical skills, and making sure to be specific and quantifiable. So essentially what that means is, a grad school might want to see exactly how many people that you've worked with, if you've overseen a group of people, any numbers that you can bring to the table is important. Also thinking about your communication skills, so verbal and written communication. How well do you get along with others? How can you communicate what you have to say? Having a strong work ethic, being honest and having integrity is important for a grad school or any other position. Teamwork, again, working well with others. Motivation and initiative, being analytical and having the ability to problem solve. Computer skills, being flexible and adaptable. Interpersonal skills, so relating to others in that sort of way, and also being detail oriented. So if you can be organized, and that will allow the grad school to know that you have what it takes to take on the load of a grad school opportunity. So when you're considering, headings within your resume, they are important and they also can be unique. So the very first part of your resume that you have on there, of course, is your contact information. So that'll be the first thing that a grad school sees when they're looking at your resume. Again, then we go to our objective or profile section, where we can talk a little bit more about your skills, qualifications, why you are an ideal candidate for the grad program that you're applying for. Your education, so your undergrad experience, the coursework that you've had. This can be important if perhaps you're applying for a grad program that is a little outside perhaps of your undergrad program, but you've had some courses that back it up to the new program that you're applying for. So that way the grad school can see the courses that you've taken and also how they might translate over into this grad program that you're applying for. Of course, also your work experience, that can be really important. That skill summary, the profile section there, your leadership experience. So grad schools might like to see if you're, willing and able to take on additional leadership experiences within the grad program. So perhaps joining something like the Grad School Association, or a number of other experiences that are leadership based within the college. Your activities and volunteer experiences, your honors and awards, if you've received any certifications, if you're a part of any professional organizations, or if you've participated in any professional development experiences. So some resume do's when you're putting together your resume for a grad school application. Make sure you describe your experiences fully. And so what this means is just not having, one or two bullet points underneath your experience. Really think about how you can think of it in a broader sense and how that applies to the program that you're thinking of applying for. Including keywords. So if a grad school is looking for, very particular types of skills or qualifications, if you have those skills and qualifications, make sure to put that within your resume under the experience section or within your profile or in the skills summary. Using a variety of language too. This can be important when you are thinking about creating your action statements that are underneath each of your experience sections. So starting with really strong action words. So instead of saying, things just like assisted with this, think about how else you can articulate that. So did you manage something? Did you, work on a team? Did you have leadership skills, etc.? So thinking about that in a more broader sense can be really important. And then, of course, making sure your resume is free of errors. So within any document that you have, resume, personal statement, etc., making sure that you get plenty of feedback on it and that it has it's free of errors, looking through it as best you can and proofreading as much as you can. Some resume don'ts: never use templates. So it can be really easy, like to go onto Google or go onto the Microsoft Word app and pull up a template, but we want to make sure to stay away from them because templates can be really hard to work with. So when you're updating a resume or when you're sending your resume into a grad school, it might get lost in translation within their application system. We've had that happen a couple of times, at least for like job applications for folks that I've been working with, and they've submitted a resume where they've used a template, and when it came through, it was not the same way that it was when they submitted it. And so to avoid this, you can just start with a blank Word document and go from there, just making sure that you stay away from the heavy formatting. So not needing a ton of like, color or pictures or anything like that. Really, the resume itself is just going to be that black and white document, and having your experiences and, educational opportunities speak for themselves. Also not using any like very personal information. So like personality profiles, things like that, you would not have to have that within your resume. And then typically sticking with one page. And so it says, don't go unnecessarily beyond one page. But if you have, a lot of experience that you want to showcase, that you've earned prior to going to grad school, you can go on to one page. But the rule of thumb is if you do go on to a second page, make sure it's at least 3/4 of the way filled. So that way you're not, if there's a way to make it onto one page, you just have like a little bit more on that second page, you can, I'm sure, find a way to get it onto one. But if you do have a lot of those experiences, going on to that second page, at least 3/4 of the way filled is going to be the best way to go. So when you're formatting your resume, pay attention to the organization of how you have things listed out within your resume. Get external proofreaders, so faculty members, staff members, other folks that you might trust to give you really valuable feedback can be important. Sticking to 1-inch side margin. So anything that is smaller than that, the words might come off the page when you're submitting it. But anything like larger than that, any larger formats, your resume will be really like tight like this. So you just want to have it, the 1-inch side margins are typically the rule of thumb. 12 to 10-point font is really a good way to go. I typically suggest, 11-point font is good. If you're struggling to get your resume onto that one page and you just have a little bit more on that second page, you can kind of play with the font that you have. And so that way you could potentially get it onto that one page a little bit easier without having to remove anything from the resume. Again, that black ink, black and white, and then no photos. So I just put together a really standard sample graduate school resume here. So as we talked about, some different sections within it, we have our heading section where you see their name and contact information, their profile section, giving a little bit background of who they are, what type of position, or grad school they're applying for, their skills summary, their education. And so they were a business administration undergrad student, and they're looking to apply for an MBA program here at Hood College. Very transferable. You can see exactly, how an undergrad business degree would translate well over to an MBA. And they talked a little bit about their experience at the top there in their profile section. You see the experience they have underneath there as well. So being an account manager and a sales associate. So again, when we're thinking about writing these bullet points, what we call our action statements, we'll make sure they start with different words. So established, overhauled, recognized, spearheaded, guided, stacked, achieved, consistently placed, etc. And so as we see there, you're not starting with assist all of the time or, helped. We have different words that we're using. You'll also see under education where they have listed some of the relevant coursework, which is great too. So a grad school can see the courses that you've taken and could really do well in the grad school program, and also some certifications that they have. Just some silly ones I kind of put on there just for an example. But yeah, those are all great things to include within your grad school resume. So that way the grad school can see, exactly what type of person you are, the things that you brought to the table, and how you can be a really great asset to the program. This action words list, what I was talking about within the action statement, this is a great list that we utilize all the time in the Career Center when we're working with folks to develop their resume. So whenever I'm having a hard time thinking about, okay, how can we think about this in a broader sense? I turn to this list and I look through all of these words, but you can also do just a general Google search for action words to develop your resume the best that you can. So getting into the statement of purpose, Vanessa talked about that a little bit too, which is perfect. Sometimes I see the statement of purpose also referred to as a personal statement. So sometimes they can be used interchangeably. When you're writing your statement of purpose, it tells the grad committee who you are, your academic and professional interests, and how you'll add value to the program. And so, if you're applying for a really competitive grad program, you want to be sure you articulate very specifically why you are an ideal candidate for this program, and how you have unique qualifications that make you the best fit for this program. So really being able to tell your story, giving a narrative. I think Vanessa said it very nicely, using your inner voice, having it come from your heart and being able to articulate that in a way that comes across well to a grad committee. So typically a statement of purpose, in some research that I've done and works that I've done with students, around 500 to 1,000 words. But if you see specific requirements for a statement of purpose from a grad school committee, then definitely follow that. You wouldn't necessarily have to say, oh, I heard it was 500 to 1,000 words. If they give that specific requirement, then go with that. So where to begin when you're developing your statement of purpose? If you haven't written one before, really start just to brainstorm your ideas. So why do you want this degree? What are your expectations? What do you hope to get out of this grad program? What courses, if you're looking into the courses that they have, what courses excite you the most? What would you like to take? Are there any elective courses that you can take that are just, of interest to you? Where do you want to take your professional degree, and how will your specific experiences add value to the program? So when you're brainstorming, think of all those things in your mind when you're starting to develop this statement. So once you've done that, once you've done some brainstorming and have a good idea of where you like to make this statement go and how you'd like to articulate it, develop an outline. So it can be a very rough, very brief outline, but essentially it's comprised of a few different sections. And so we have our introduction section. And so that's going to be a brief introduction of who you are with a compelling hook. And I think Vanessa talked about this a little bit too, being able to, grab the reader's attention right away when you are giving an introduction to who you are. In the body, you'll have relevant experiences and accomplishments that you've had within the field. And then in a conclusion, being able to summarize and conclude why you'd be a great fit for the program. So just having those few sections there are going to give you a good idea of how to develop this document. Sometimes it's really intimidating when you're looking at a blank page and you don't know where to start. So that's why, beginning with brainstorming to developing that outline can be very helpful. I know for me, it's really helpful. So when you've developed that outline, a brief, rough draft outline, then you can get into writing your first draft. And so, in the outline, you might have bullet points, you might have, not full sentences or anything like that. But then when you go back to it and you're developing your first draft, make sure, again, just to be yourself. Demonstrate interest that you have in the school, and why you're choosing to apply for that particular grad program. They'll want to see that perhaps you've done your research and that you know about the school and what you're applying for, and throwing in some of those specifics about the school can be helpful too. And then, of course, last but not least, edit and refine the work that you've done. So get plenty of feedback from it, proofread, and follow all of the directions. Again, if you're getting like a very specific, given a very specific prompt for the statement of purpose, make sure you follow that and make sure you meet all those requirements when you're going through it. Last but certainly not least, at least from a Career Center perspective, here at Hood College, we absolutely offer all of these resources to grad students here at the college. Thinking about career exploration, where you'd like to take your grad program after you graduate from the program. We have a variety of civic engagement opportunities. So a lot of the work that I do here in the Career Center is really focused on working in civic engagement and being involved in the community, which grad students are, of course, absolutely welcome to do. And I love taking grad students on those trips. Really developing your resume and cover letter once you're here, if you're applying for jobs, post-grad program. We work with some internship opportunities. We can help with interview preparation. I love doing mock interviews with students. I think they're a lot of fun, and you kind of get the nerves out of the way when you're going onto that interview. And then general job search and salary negotiation. The Career Center here at Hood has a wide variety of job search tools that you can use and that are completely free of charge. So that's a little bit in a very quick nutshell about some of the career services offered here at Hood College, and a little bit about the resume and the statement of purpose.